Alright, as we continue to work on building our value drawing techniques, working from the 4 basic shapes to doing the 4x4 basic shapes, we're going to do an exercise now that goes all the way back to the very first art schools. Mostly people are wearing clothes, and when clothes fold and their robes of or shirts or the fabric creates folds, the light hits those folds and creates shadows. Artists have been practicing drawing the draped cloth. This is a drawing from a piece of a sheet that I had hanging on the wall from 2 hooks, and usually in the classroom we put one on each side of the classroom so everybody's facing what they're looking at. You can get any kind of piece of cloth, try a shirt, anything that doesn't really have a strong pattern on it. It usually should be a solid color. White is going to show off the best shadows. So you can work from a photograph. There are so many videos on YouTube showing people practicing drawing this draped cloth. Draped cloth is the project. So if you're looking up value drawing, looking up on YouTube the draped cloth, that probably will get you a lot of videos on YouTube of different people showing you how to do this. But all of this is going to start off with our first terms, which are contour drawing and inner contour. When you start off drawing contour and inner contour drawings, the biggest part of making you successful is hand and eye coordination. Hand and eye coordination says that if someone was to throw you a ball, your eye would see where the ball is. Your eye tells your hand where to go to intercept that ball and when to close on the ball. Those hand and eye coordination skills are the same things we use when we're drawing. So when you're looking at a photograph of a piece of cloth, and if I'm looking at this photograph and I'm recreating this drawing, I'm going to take a spot to start at the top of my paper, just like this starts at the top of my paper. And the key is not to make things up. I'm going to start at the top of my paper and I'm going to follow, and every time I draw a ½ inch of line, that's about that much, I'm going to look back at what I'm drawing to get the next areas of line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the contour, and that's just the outline of the shape of the major item that I'm drawing. So when we compare these two shapes together, you can see that they're not exactly the same, but they're following the same patterns. And this contour drawing is just the outline. It's the outline of the object you're drawing. The inner contour will be all these lines that are on the inside, the areas where the light and the folds of the cloth are changing. And again, you're not making things up. You're going to look for a line and find that line of where it goes and lightly place those lines in where you see these folds and wrinkles, folds coming down into your drawing. And I'm going to put in a couple more areas that I'm looking at. Now a lot of what we're seeing here, these are representing lines, and these are the dark areas that we're seeing. The dark areas, that's the areas that are falling the furthest back away from the light source. All the things at the top are getting the most light source. It's just like when we draw the 4 shapes. The top of the sphere is getting the most light. It's the lightest. The furthest away from the sphere or the light source, it's getting the darkest. So once you have a light sketch, and everything should be done lightly, because you can always add more darkness from the pencil, and once it's down and it's dark, it's hard to erase that and get that out of the paper. So once you have that, then you're going to start placing in your color. Now, so there's a line. We're going to use the edge of the pencil to turn that line into a value. We're going to look for an area where there's a darker shadow that's underneath, and we're going to add a little bit more pressure with our pencil, and just go to the areas where you see dark and blend those areas in, because at the very end you can always go in with your eraser and add back in the highlights. Again, it's not making up lines. You know, we see people doing this type of thing all the time. They'll just, oh, here's a crinkle, and they make stuff up. Don't make stuff up. That's no bueno, no good. Don't make stuff up. Actually draw the areas that you're looking at and try to recreate those areas. And if you'll notice, in our original drawing, it goes from light to dark to dark to light to dark to light. It's always lights and darks next to one another, and that's what creates this illusion of things getting round on a flat surface. When you're done, you know, there's different levels of drawing. This is an ideal drawing. The only thing that can make this drawing better is if it had some darker areas. That would add to the contrast between the white paper and these dark shadows, and would make it jump off the page. Here's an example. They've done a good job of where the contours and inner contours are, but they're relying a lot on lines. When you can look at these lines, that's lazy drawing. That's not a shadow. There's not a line on that piece of cloth. It's a shadow. So you have to blend those shadows in. So if that student had taken some more time to blend those colors in and not made it look like a line, and blended that dark shadow into the area around it, like I'm doing here, and then put in a highlight of light reflection above that, then you go into this as hiding or camouflaging these lines and turning them into shadows. This is the type of stuff that you want in your drawing. So you may start off like this, but keep practicing and work your way in. Use those techniques from all of the 4x4 videos that talk about how to place values and colors on those shapes, with the 4x4, the 4 shapes, the value drawing, using all those techniques, and now we're just placing them in a different type of area. I expect you to have at least 5 of these, spend an hour on each one. And for the draped cloth, what you're going to do is you're going to turn in your very best draped cloth drawing. Remember, we've been saying since August, draw as big as you possibly can on your paper. I don't want to see a little tiny drawing. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you need to have some folds. If it's just a flat piece of cloth, then it's going to be harder to draw. So you're going to have to make one, or I'll have a photograph of a draped cloth, and you can work from the photograph. Or any of the videos that you find on YouTube, work from those. But by the time you spent 5 hours doing this, you should have hopefully progressed to this level or to this level. And that's what we're looking for. The more and more you draw, the better you get. Go ahead and have some fun.